It's a great pleasure to be here, to be speaking in front of you. I know you're thinking ahead to your evening, but I'm going to try and make this the most worth your while possible. So I've been sitting like you. I was sitting in the back across the most of the day. And if you're like me, your mind is like going boom, right? Because you've had ideas left, right, and center about toilets that measure stuff when you sit on it, cows that have emotions, somebody eating himself. I know there's a whole bunch of things that we heard. And all these things that are up here, right, folks? All these things that are up here, the potential for us to do good in society is amazing. But at some point, we have to put our feet back on the ground. And so today I want to talk to you about this idea. How do we take things that are amazing, because everything that we heard about is amazing, and convert it into something that we can have a business about? And unless I'm mistaken, all of us in the room are business people. So maybe you can relate to that. So I'm going to be very pragmatic. I'm not going to talk about sexy stuff, but I'm going to be pragmatic with you for 45 minutes, if I may. So from this big sky up here, we have to, go down. If you want to go to the marketplace, what do we need, folks? We need a product or a service. So all that good stuff has to be wrapped into something our customers actually understand. And then, if we not only we want to have a business, but also we want to have a good business, all of that's like that, now becomes one single thing. If I was in a classroom, which I usually am, I would ask you, hey, so what do you think that is? And people have different opinions. But there's lots of you, so I won't do that. Okay? All of it comes down because if you want to have a good business, you have to have people paying you for it. Otherwise, you cannot survive as a business, which means you have to have a price. Okay, so this talk is really about that. And without being too dramatic for you, I want you to let it sink in for a second. Space, amazing new foods, all the technology and science you heard about, all the way down. Ultimately, if you want to be a business, somebody has to pay you money for it. Okay? So you have to set a price for something. Okay. So then you're thinking to yourself, well, that seems important. So how should we set a price? Okay? And I've got a few options for you. Given all the scientists that we've seen coming across this stage in the day, I'm thinking to myself, let me show you some really scientific ways of setting prices for the things you want to sell. And here's some of them. Some companies do this, right? Some spin a wheel, and wherever it lands, that's the price I'm going to charge at. Some might pick a piece of paper out of a ball. Some may ask a psychic, and that psychic will have some idea of the price. If you want to be a little bit more scientific, which I'm sure this will relate with you, what can you do? You can ask your accountant, right? Which may or may not look like this. And your accountant will say, well, let me think about the costs. All that technology up there has to come to a cost. So let me think of all that cost. Let me put a margin to it so it makes us feel very nice and safe. And then let me sell that at that. Or if you're a bit more adventurous and you like to use AI, you send out bots into the world and the bots spy on your competition. And then you set a price that is just below the competition because, that's how you work, right? Okay. By the way, that's many companies, that's the way they price things. And again, let that sink in for a second. All of that value that you've created through all the innovation that you're doing up here, which is amazing work. I've had the pleasure of working with companies that do really amazing work. And I'll show you some of those a little bit later. All of that comes down to, what's my cost? Let me add 20% on top of that. If you are in the marketing world, you will know very well that if you want to sell a product or service, you've been told since 1965, I believe, which is now 60 years ago, that the way to sell a product or service is to ask your customers what they want or need, and then work your way back to a product or service. Well, that's a good idea. Then why, if we want to set a price for something because we want to have commercial success, why don't we start with the customer and work our way backwards? Let's go to the marketplace. Let's hire some consulting company that can help us because they do great work as well. And let's ask this consulting company to help us ask people, what they're willing to pay for the product and service which they sell. So that's how we're going to do it. Now we discovered it. We've got it. We've cracked this. I can finish this presentation half an hour early. What we're going to do is we're going to ask our customers what they're willing to pay for the products and services and all the innovations that we've created. That kind of makes sense if you think about this. You see, I have a marketplace that I want to serve. People have to pay me. If I'm able to find out the maximum they're willing to pay for something, then I know what the potential commercial success in the marketplace looks like. And what I will do, I will reverse engineer based on my objective as a business. I'm a profit maximizer, I'm a nonprofit, whatever it is. I will, I will reverse engineer. I will reverse engineer the right price. And if there is one thing, just one thing that you take away from this talk today, is that this is wrong. This is wrong. Just humor me for 1 second. There's a lot of pressure on this price point. You've taken all your good innovation, you brought it down to a product or service, and you then put it into price. If you're going to rely on what customers tell you, if that's the way to go, and it makes sense because they're paying you, so why not ask them? The accountant is not paying you, the people are paying you, so let's ask them. But if you're going to do that, you better then, I was going to swear there, but I won't, you better make sure that all of the goodness, it comes all the way down to willingness to pay. If that willingness to pay is at all imperfect, then you've got a problem. And guess what? It is. That's why it's wrong. Willingness to pay, which we use as an anchor, is completely wrong to think about this. It's usually what I say to people is, you're focusing on the trees, what somebody is willing to pay, and you're forgetting to understand what the actual forest is, which is the value that you're dealing with. Because if I focus on willingness to pay, and then from here I'll go to examples, okay? But just I'm being an academic, I've got to give you some theory, otherwise I don't feel good at the end of the day. So if you focus on willingness to pay, what happens? Well, if I look at this room, for example, all of you are all different, because all of you have a different perception of the stuff I'm trying to sell you. Therefore, you've got 100 million different willingness to pay, which is crazy. And if your willingness to pay does come from your perceptions of the value that I'm offering to you, how many times has it happened to you? And I'm not going to ask you to put your hand up, but how many times has it happened to you that you ask people, people come to you and tell you, you know what? I love your product or service, but I'm not willing to pay for it. Why is that? Or how often does it happen to you that people say to you, yeah, I don't really understand what that product actually does, when you know really, really well that their product actually helps them in a big beneficial way. Or how often does it happen that you've created a certain product or service, and in fact, you've misspecified what the actual market wants. All of this to say is that we're putting a lot of pressure on what people are willing to pay, and what we really should be focusing is on value. So what I want to do with you for the remainder of the time that I have, which is this screen tells me it's 32 minutes, what I want to do with you is basically take you on a journey. I want you and me to put ourselves in the shoes of the people that look at the stuff that you make for them and decide to pay for the stuff that you make for them, and how does value actually go through their heads. We'll do it step by step. I want to show you lots of examples. And by the end of this, hopefully you'll have one tool that you can take back to your business and think about how to monetize innovation better. So let's start with that. At the very top of this process, okay, at the very top, you've got your market potential. And your market potential is defined by your customers. And here, what we're going to call it is the value that customers actually want. I also put here the problem. Customers go around in the world with problems, either explicit or otherwise latent in their minds. They've got jobs to be done, if you've heard this term before, okay? And then what happens here? Well, the next step is this one. We, as a company, spend money in a solution. Since we heard that you've got a problem to solve, I have got money to invest in a solution. I innovated like crazy to provide the better solution than the competition. Here it is, a product or a service. What you'll start noticing, if you're a very astute watcher, what you'll start noticing here is that this line here is smaller than the one on top. And if you're even more astute, you will find that as I go through this, it will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And if you have done any sort of business training before, you know that in business, we never like funnels. Never. Advertising funnel, bad. Marketing funnel bad. As every funnel that exists is actually bad. So what happened here is that, hold on a second, my customers have a problem that sets the potential commercial success there is in the marketplace, but me, I misspecified the solution somewhat. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, how can that be possible? Because if we're really good at understanding the marketplace, if we do our research properly, we never misspecify products. Let me show you an example. Does anybody know this company called Juicero? Well, it doesn't exist anymore, so you know where this story is going. But let me show you.
Making juice is easy. Start by taking a stroll down to the neighborhood farmer's market. Buy about $50 worth of organic fruits and vegetables. Don't forget to bring a tote bag.
Do you sell tote bags?
No, we'll just carry it. Did you forget your tote?
Wash your fruits and vegetables. Cut them, chop them, wash them again, peel them.
I think this peeler's broken.
Dig your juicer out from the back of your cupboard, realize there's still a part missing, find it. Figure out how to put it all together, then juice. And enjoy. Oh, but did you think you were done? Because you're not. Now you've made a big old mess that you have to clean up, the machine, the countertop, pretty much your whole kitchen.
Can't get those beets out of anything.
All right, so making juice isn't easy at all. It's actually a huge pain. But what if it didn't have to be?
What is this?
It's a juicero.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that word means.
It's
What's
a new word.
juicero? Okay, define it for me.
Juicero, the best juice ever. What comes out of the juicero is so fresh that it shouldn't even be called juice. It should just be called, I don't know, squashed produce, because that's what it is. Our founder, Doug, is straight up made of juice.
Literally, there's juice in my veins.
Doug and the Juicero team have taken care of everything. Not just the washing, the peeling, and the chopping, but the growing, the harvesting, the washing, the refrigerated transport, the inspecting. Did we mention the washing? The packaging. And finally, delivering to your house. And we haven't even gotten to the most genius part yet. There's nothing to clean. No mess whatsoever. It's so easy that it makes the old way of juicing seem, well, old.
Why did I do all that other stuff?
Who cares? That's our past life. This is our new life.
Juicero.
Wow.
The easiest, freshest, most delicious way to get juice.
All right, so Juicero, interesting story. $120 million in funding because the world needs a better juicer, right? If you're skeptical and you're an engineer in the room, you shouldn't be, because apparently, I'm not an engineer, but I've been told that making a machine that presses evenly is the key, because you don't want to have lumps in the juice. It has to be even. The whole bag is really, really hard thing to do. So there is cost and cost and cost. There is a supply chain. There is everything. And the Juicero came onto the marketplace for a wonderful and cheap $700. You would think that would entitle you to a lifetime worth of juices, but it doesn't. If you want juices, you have to pay separately. €8 per juice. And if you thought that was a good deal, I don't know, maybe you think again, because that juice you just spend $8 on, which you're going to be juicing on a $700 machine, that lasts for 1 week. They send it to your house. It has a QR code you have to scan before you use the machine. And if you happen to want to drink your juice of broccoli and whatever, or the carrots that are not supposed to be orange, 1 day later, on the 8th day, it doesn't work. It won't work. So that $8 goes into the rubbish bin, essentially. Right, you can hear from my tone, this is not a good story, right? So this went on the marketplace, and guess what? It wasn't well received. And I think there's a story, there's a cliche, but there's an important story. Innovation drives our world, that's for sure, but it has to be anchored on the people that actually pay us. And if the people that actually pay us don't want it, because maybe it's over-engineered, they're not going to pay for it. And so innovation, as you already know, for innovation's sake, doesn't necessarily do it for you. And so back to Juicero, $700 went onto the marketplace. It lasted 3 months. After 3 months, it wasn't selling. €400. And it still wasn't selling. And they're about to drop the price when this study came out. Turns out you can do it yourself. You don't have to have 400. 2 hands will do just the job, and those came for free when you were born. So just hair doesn't exist anymore. So there is such a thing as over-specifying, overdoing it on technology. And the one that is less seen, in my opinion, is underdoing it on technology. There's actually the flip side of it. So I've had the pleasure of working for about 1.5 years with the founder of GoPro, who has a GoPro camera. All daredevils out here in the audience. All right. So now, if you're ever thinking what the founder of GoPro would look like, it's exactly the way you're thinking. That's what he looks like. Right. So this dude, literally long blonde hair, kind of unwashed for a few days, but he's incredibly rich, lives in a lodge in Colorado, flies private jet to his company, which I believe is probably somewhere in California. There's like bear rugs on the wall and all these things when you're on a Zoom call with him. Anyhow, the long story is, so as you know, GoPro is a camera company. And if you're a camera company, you live and die by the technology of your camera. And every single year, if you don't sell your camera, big problem. The guy wants to go public. Why not? Everybody wants to go public. Wall Street says, you're a one-trick pony. What do I like? I like recurring, steady, nice revenue. Okay, so you need to have a subscription model because that's what will do it. And the way he talks about it is really interesting. He says, like a light bulb came up at that moment. Because we are a camera company, we've always been thinking about cameras and how to make a better camera. The moment Wall Street tells me you need a subscription, a long-standing relationship, I started thinking, what do my customers actually want? And backtrack without running into this wall. What customers actually want is an active lifestyle. And if you want to have an active lifestyle, if the problem to be solved is an active lifestyle, then you need to create a memory, capture a memory, store that memory, edit that memory, because not all your memories are nice and shareable, and then share that memory. And the camera is just in the capture business. So all of a sudden it's thinking, we are like in one fraction of the business we should be in. And so the subscription model, which saved the business, by the way, the last couple of years, is not only the camera, also a partnership for events, also a cloud storage, also an editing app, also a sharing methodology. And by the way, they've gotten to a point, which is really crazy if you think about it. It really sort of rocks your world when you think about it. They're thinking to themselves, maybe we don't even need a camera anymore because we're an active lifestyle company. Okay, so that's that story over there. Let's go on our funnel journey. We don't like funnels, right? But that's what happens. Value degrades through time. And if I focus on what people pay, I don't see this stuff. And by the time it gets to me and I have to put a price on this, it's too late. And my potential is all eroded. So if this is the value customers want, this is the value customers get, something else completely different is the value that actually customers see. Because people are not perfect machines. They have imperfect information. So folks, think about this. Not only did I misspecify the marketplace over here, but the investment that I made into a product or service on the back of all that innovation, only a part of that is seeing my customers. And by the way, my customers would not pay me for this. At best, they will pay me for this because it's much smaller. Okay, it's what they see, better said. Which takes me to a company called Project Magi, which is a nonprofit working out of Africa. And again, I've had the pleasure to work with the founder for now 3 years. And this is a really cool story. So Project Magi, the classic story of an entrepreneur, is driving through a village in Kenya. I mean, it's a stereotypical story, but it's a true story. And he sees kids basically logging big jerry cans of water back to the village. Water that they got out of an open source, which is not the cleanest water. And so he stops and asks people, why are we doing this? Well, because we have a water pump in our village that was installed by probably FMCG, big, huge Western company. Okay. And you know what? The water is a mechanical pump. You use your hands and it broke in 2 weeks. So he does a bit of research and he discovers that about 50% of all hand water pump, mechanical water pumps in Kenya and other areas, they break down within the first 3-4 weeks. So you might as well not have one. So through technology and innovation, he devises a solar-powered water kiosk. He decides to charge villagers for it, 2 cents, the smallest coin in people's pockets, for 20 liters. Because if you charge people the smallest coin you can, even if it's the smallest coin you can, guess what? They will actually take care of the system because they're paying. But all that said, you put it into the marketplace, you now have are always running clean water source right next to your house, and 6 months later, 20% of people are actually using it. The remainder are still going 5-10 kilometers, women and children still going 10 kilometers over there to pick up water and bring it back. And the reason why I like to tell this story, because it's this difference between what you give them and what people see. For us, from our privileged position, it's like, I mean, it's right there and it's clean. Why would you, right? And then you start speaking to people, well, why would I? That's 2 cents and that one over there is free. And we're like, but 2 hours of your time, you could be in school, you could be working, you will not get sick, so you can work more. For us, it was obvious, and we're the innovation makers. And for the ones who are our customers, they didn't necessarily see it. So what we had to do is we had to talk about innovations in a language that they actually understand or comprehend, which is a different language, but the one that makes it.
We were fetching the water from the dam, that is River Densu. Curtains and the ships were drinking the same water to use for cooking, drinking, bathing, and set of things. Before we go there to fetch water, we don't come to school early because we wake up at dawn. We are afraid to walk from the roadside to go and fetch water from the dam. We wait to 6 o'clock before we go and fetch water, and we'll be late in school. We can't do our homeworks. The benefit that I, Matilda, has provided by the project management is that I stop visiting the branch and come to school early and drink clean water too.
Okay, so we're on this journey, and unfortunately, it's not here yet. And if you're perspicacious, you'll see that I'm missing at least 1 or 2 steps over here. So here's the value that so now you got the value that customers perceive, and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's your willingness to pay. Clearly, what you see, you're willing to pay for. But guess what? No. What they're willing to offer you, which is what I started with originally, your willingness to pay, is actually smaller than what customers perceive. And you're thinking, why would that be? If you see the value, why are you not paying for it? And I'll tell you why. It's our fault. Your fault, my fault. Why? Because we're lazy people or lazy businesses. We and our accountants are telling us, if you can, get your customer to pay you in full and upfront. Risk-free. Sell your thing in full, upfront, take the money, run, and take it to the bank. Now, that's good for us in a great world, but it creates problems for people. It creates lots of problems. One problem may be that, yes, my friend, I am really willing, I see the value, but I'm not willing to pay for it because I cannot afford it. If you gave me the money, I would pay for it, but I just cannot afford it. When we're talking about earlier about impacting millions and millions of people, this is a huge problem. Market access is a huge problem. And it's typically created by us because we would love to get paid in full and upfront.
For financial reasons, 65% of Brazilian households use appliances over 25 years old. Old appliances are energy wasteful, raising electricity bills by 160%.
Eu tenho esse problema de pagar a conta de luz, que é uma fortuna. É tanto dinheiro que eu poderia estar gastando com outras coisas. Uma geladeira nova, por exemplo, que estamos precisando bastante.
People are faced with impossible choices. In low-income communities in São Paulo, the average electricity bill cost represents 30% of their monthly income. This is when energy becomes a burden.
Consul, the leading appliances brand in Brazil, created a new way for people to buy appliances while having a direct impact on their electricity bills, introducing a more efficient way to pay.
Em 10 anos, os aparelhos tiveram um aumento da eficiência energética em torno dos 40%. Com isso, uma marca de eletrodomésticos agora permite que o consumidor compre seus produtos usando a economia da conta de luz.
A more efficient way to pay works like this. First, families order a fridge, a washing machine, and a microwave with no upfront payment. Once delivered, the new appliances replace the old ones, and the household uses them for a month to see the difference in their electricity bill. The amount they save becomes an interest-free monthly installment, spread over as many months as needed to fully pay off the new products.
Depois de cerca de 24 meses, você quita os eletrodomésticos e a casa fica com produtos muito melhores e uma conta de luz muito mais baixa por vários anos.
Agora minha conta de luz veio de R$380 por 300. Aí os 80 que sobram eu consigo pagar as parcelas dos aparelhos.
Criar soluções para as famílias brasileiras é e sempre continuará sendo o nosso principal objetivo.
Okay, so I love the new appliance. I would like to have it, but I just don't have the cash in my pocket. So my willingness to pay is only going to be as high as my ability to pay. Okay, so what I'm doing, I can find ways to try and alleviate a particular burden. But that's one thing. There's another reason why people are not willing to pay for the value they actually see and tell you they see, is because they're unsure. You ask me to pay up front and in full, and I don't know. I like cars, but will I use the car as much as maybe I'll walk to work one day. Maybe I'm going to buy something that I think I like, but then I will not use it as much as I want. So then why don't we think about different commercial models that actually fit the customer and their usage patterns?
I just came to inquire about your gym membership. To be honest with you, all I want to do is like a bit of abs and legs. Can I pay like for machines? Like just pay for per machine or per time?
No, it's a whole club.
Hi, I was wondering, help me. I only need one bay leaf. I was hoping I can just buy one of those instead of the whole packet.
You can open it, sell one.
It's the same with paprika. If I only need like a teaspoon of it, do I have to pay?
You can sell one spoon.
Hello mate, can I just get just a single chip?
Small, medium, large.
One small, but how many do you get in that though? A little bag, what, like 12?
Yeah, something. 12.
So how much just for sort of like 10p for one then?
90 minimum, yeah.
I'm just wondering what the possibility is of me potentially just buying one single episode of House of Cards. Do you just do a one episode plan? No? Do you just do like a handful of parsley rather than because that will go off, and definitely no for the bay leaves. Is there any chance that I could just buy the sports section?
Pay for this.
Do you do it extra small or like a micro small? Can I get a 3-inch sub?
6 inch.
Yeah, so can I get half of that? I'm having a big dinner, I just need something to tie me over. Is that the best price on it? Could I get it any cheaper if I didn't like take any certain parts? I never use F9 or F12. Can I get rid of those, leave those with you, and that's... What about what are the chicken nuggets?
6 or 9 inch.
One?
So I love something, right? But maybe I cannot afford it right now, so we can help with that. Or maybe I don't know if I'm going to use it, so maybe I can help with that. And the last thing I'm worrying about is that will it actually work on me? I mean, your advertising says that it's going to work for everybody, but maybe I'm just a weird person, and maybe my lifestyle doesn't fit, especially in healthcare, for example. My life doesn't fit necessarily the product, and so there is risk of performance. And again, if you stand and the same logic applies, if you stand behind your innovation and everything is great, then why don't you align your commercial model with this customer? Because you don't see any risk, but your customer is seeing it.
A mediados del 2013, la industria del arte en España sufrió uno de los golpes más grandes de todos los tiempos.
El gobierno decidió cambiar el impuesto de los espectáculos teatrales del 8 al 21%, logrando la mayor sangría de espectadores que se recuerde.
Un 30% menos de espectadores en tan solo un año. La gente se volcó a consumir entretenimiento probado masivamente como los blockbusters americanos.
Ante esa realidad, la compañía independiente de comedia Teatraneo decidió tomárselo con humor e inventar algo.
Pay per laugh, the first comedy shows where you only pay for what you consume. We fitted each seat with a facial recognition system that detects the smile and proposed the following deal to spectators. Entrance will be totally free. If the show produces no laughs, you don't pay anything. However, if you laugh, you have to pay for each smile. Each smile produced is worth 30 euro cents, something that in this day and age is quite a reasonable price. At the end of the show, the spectator could check their laughter account before paying and even share it on social networks. And so that no one would cry for having laughed more than they could afford, the maximum amount to pay was 80 laughs for 24 euros. The average price of the ticket increased by 6 euros. The system was covered by the main national media outlets, and this produced 35% more spectators. Each Paper Laugh show produced €28,000 more ticket money than was normally taken. Currently, the system is being copied in other theatres in Spain. A mobile phone app was created as a system of payment, and the first season ticket was launched for the number of laughs, not shows. We should also not write off the paper cry or paper what the fuck system.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Or maybe not. Paper Laugh, the first comedy shows where you only pay for what you consume.
Now, admittedly, I know it's late in the afternoon, so I chose examples that might keep you further awake and make you laugh a little bit. But look no further than AI. But not the AI development of it, but the commercialization of AI. If you've been following it at all, this is exactly what's happening. Do we sell you the technology of AI? Do we sell you a subscription to AI? Do we sell you the workflows of AI, which is the usage? Do we sell you the actual outcomes of AI, if it's a CRM system, for example? Right? This is happening in our industries today. And if it's not that, it's called value-based healthcare in the US. And if it's not that, it's called value-based education in the UK. It's happening across all sorts of industries. Now, I'm almost done because I'm running out of slide over here. Do we like funnels? We don't like funnels. Guess what? That's the money that goes into the system. You may have misspecified what the customers actually wanted, so that, if you do, that's bad luck. You have not explained it properly. You're like, oh, why don't I get it automatically? Well, you have to explain it to them. Your commercial model is completely de-risking you, the business, by putting all that risk on the customer, and that will show in their willingness to pay. And last but not least, this is where you make money. And this, now, I say those words, but I don't want to appear over-capitalistic to you because I'm not. In fact, most of the things that I use in class are all non-profits, like the ones I showed you before. You need this. And by the way, if you appreciate my PowerPoint skills, there's one more bag of money than there is here. Copy-paste. Okay? Because you want that to be bigger than that. Clearly, otherwise you cannot reinvest in more technology. And you're thinking, why? I mean, if you're willing to pay that, why are you not paying me as much as you're willing to pay? Well, that goes back to what I told you at the beginning. All of you are different. And just about every business that I've had the pleasure of working with, they tend to underprice the marketplace. There's lots of variety in people. Variety drives the world, but we tend to underprice it. Right? We tend to have far fewer prices than we really should. And in the spirit of showing you examples that maybe might make you a little bit laugh and keep you awake, let's look at, not the next one, I'm going to show another one. I'm thinking about this, and you're going to go back to your families and you're going to say, oh, I went to the Singularity Summit and they're talking about toilets that look at your poo, putting your pee on it was kind of a weird event we've been to. And I'm going to finish with this. Everything revolves back to the United States. I'm going to go back to an example of the United States of how we can adjust prices. So this is going to be an example about an airline. Mexico, from your own country, that is in the Trump days, is struggling to, get traffic back this way, right? So how do I fix that problem when I know that people may have different willingness to pay, to say it nicely, and here's their solution.
Mexico's first destination is America, but America's first destination is not Mexico. So we went to a typical American town to ask why they don't consider Mexico an option to travel to.
Would you consider going to Mexico?
No way. The idea of going to Mexico is not something that I would foresee.
That's not my cup of tea.
Let me stay here in peace and let those folks stay on their side of the border.
Do you like tequila?
Yes.
Do you like burritos?
Yeah.
Do you like Mexico?
No.
And when your company name is Aeromexico, well, So how do we increase USA flights to Mexico if a big part of Americans just don't like Mexico? According to the Department of Homeland Security, Mexican immigration goes as far as the 1800s settling in on the South, meaning that a big percentage of Mexican ascendants in the USA doesn't even know it yet. So we did a DNA test to prove it and turn those results into discounts. The more Mexican they are, the more discount they get.
Joshua, you are 18% Mexican.
Oh, wow.
So you get 18% off to fly to Mexico. Charlotte, you are 14.4% Mexican. You're 22% Mexican.
That's bullshit. That is bullshit.
You are 18% Mexican.
Well, that's better than you.
So you get 22% off to fly to Mexico.
Oh, come on now. Seriously? Okay. That's for real. So what if I want to take my wife?
Eligible for a 15% discount to go to Mexico. What do you think about that?
I love discounts.
Sorry, Betsy. You're only 3% Mexican.
So we kept giving discounts all over Southern America in our travel agencies. DNA discounts. There are no borders within us.
Okay, so I'm almost done. So what I try to do here, I try to take in what I call it the customer value journey. And my point of this presentation was that on the one hand, and it's evidenced by the things we discussed today, and I'm actually happy that I came at the end because I can piggyback off my great colleagues. There is great value in what we do. Great value in what we do, from one company to the next. But at the end of the day, if we have our feet on the ground, we have to generate revenue from that value. We have to go from something aspirational, something intangible, something in the air called value, into something very concrete, which is, a denomination, a currency. And because we have to do that, then our minds tend to rush, oh my God, well, what is the price going to be? But it's almost the last of your problems. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to do that, but it's the last of your problems. If you rush that particular problem, you forget that people, you might not be able to charge what their willingness to pay is, because you're not seeing that everybody has a different willingness to pay. And so again, I said it before, you need many, and once more, many more prices than you actually have in the marketplace. And that happens to every single company I've met in my life. That what they're willing to pay doesn't actually match what they see, and you're thinking that's crazy. Well, that's because you're trying to de-risk your life instead of helping your customers. You're not putting yourself in their shoes. And what they see is not what you're giving them. And instead of getting upset with your customer because they don't see it, try put yourself in their shoes again. Maybe explain it to them in a certain way. Again, it applies 9 out of 10 companies that I've had the pleasure of working with. And of course, be proud of the things that you make. But guess what? Sometimes you've misspecified the marketplace. At the end of the day, you're serving somebody, and that somebody is the one that has to like it or not. So what's their problem? And on that note, and with 1 minute left, thank you very much for listening to me, and thanks.